Hey Daniel, thank you so much for your letter, your video letter. It's really nice to have such a personal video made for me. I appreciate that. So in this video I'll try to answer your question. You wanted me to explain. I'll tell you the story of my awakening, this process that I went through. It's something which I've tried to talk about with friends and my family, and every time I fall short of the mark, I can't quite express it clearly enough. So here goes, I'll have another go. I suppose I'll start right at the beginning, which I feel to me is the beginning of where it started. I don't know if I've told you this before, but I was very depressed for a couple, 3 years, some time ago. I think I was about 22 to maybe 23, something like that, 24. I went through this very dark period in my life, and now looking back at this, I appreciate this period of my life so much. I learnt such a lot about myself and the mind, and yeah, so it was a good experience in the end. So my first thing I'd like to try to make is one time during this stage I was very depressed and didn't want to be around anyone at all, so I would spend my time alone, either at home or maybe I'd go camping, fishing and camping, and spend time alone there in nature. But this one time I was led in bed with all this negativity, this heaviness flowing through me, and these thoughts of suicide and all these horrible thoughts. But there was this point where I had this experience. Sorry, I'm just going to shut my computer. Where I had this experience of I wasn't the thoughts. This first taste of just observing these thoughts, and this feeling that I was separate from the thoughts. This I that we speak of all of the time was not connected to the thoughts. And this is what started my journey into meditation and into self-inquiry and so on. So this is the start of the process, really. But my actual awakening experience, I was sat by a beautiful lake, totally alone. And I was just playing with self-inquiry. I think I've been watching Mooji's videos. I was inquiring into this I. What is this I? Trying to find this I. And also observing the space in between the thoughts. And I was just sat there looking out over the water, just being with myself with these thoughts, just watching, and this was really early on, really sort of months into starting to play with meditation. Before this I had no interest in meditation, into spirituality, into religion or anything. In fact, I was against all of this. So for these couple of months I've been playing with self-inquiry. So I sat there this day, and it is so beyond words, I can't even go there. But I was sat there, and the only way I can describe it is a total explosion inside me. A total, such power, such intensity just erupted inside of me and exploded inside of me. And in this instant I felt pure joy. Joy like I'd never experienced before. And I was laughing, laughing out loud and crying, tears were rolling down my face, and just this pure joy. And I just can't express it. But this, I was sort of sat there and this happened, this explosion happened, and there was this trembling, my whole body was trembling and shaking, I was laughing, crying, and I just had no idea what was going on, no clue what at all what was happening to me. And I sort of stood up and walked around and just feeling this intensity, this pureness, this explosion. And as I stood up I sort of came to a little bit and settled her down a little bit. There is a blankness there now. I cannot remember much after this period. It's kind of hazy, but I think I just sat back down, and from that instant, from this moment, there was a huge shift in me, in my consciousness. In this instant I knew that I wasn't Adam, I wasn't this body, I wasn't anything. I was everything and nothing all at the same time. And this wasn't coming from the mind, this was a deep, pure knowing. And so, for the next week or so, I was not there. Life flowed so beautifully. This total effortlessness to life. This pure understanding of everything. And this, I just can't express it. It's just such a deep knowing. So for the next week, I was intensely living in the moment. I was at one with life. But after this sort of week, as the week progressed, it was sort of like the mind, the ego, Adam, came back in slowly, slowly. And I wouldn't say I went back to being normal, because this feeling, this knowing, this door which I opened can never leave me. And I suppose since this time, I have changed a huge amount. I'm not the same person I used to be. At all. Because I have this deep, compassionate understanding of the way, of the universe, of God. And my family and friends have obviously picked up on this change. They still comment on it from time to time. They can't understand it, they can't comprehend it either. But they are happy for me. Because this depression was gone like that. Because it wasn't real. It was all in my head, it was all mind-made. And when you move beyond the mind, you can never go back. Obviously, it is not the end of thought. It's not the end of the ego, or the end of Adam, the personality. It is all still present. And at times this automatic reaction I can't. It's like with presence. Sometimes you are totally present with the moment, and you are aware of your thoughts, and they do not have any control or any power over you. They just pass by. But other times they are more powerful. They are more emotional, and they have more control. Maybe not control, more. They're just more powerful. So you can get carried away. I get carried away in these thoughts and emotions. But I always come back to this presence, to this knowing, this space. Oh, sorry, I've lost my train of thought a little now. I'm not. So yeah, I changed in this instant. This deep knowing, understanding of God is the only way I can express it. It's never left me. It cannot. There have been times over the last few years where I've stopped meditating and gone back to my old habitual patterns. Smoking weed all the time and getting drunk and not meditating at all and having no interest in this way, and I will get caught up in the thought processes and the negativity, and I'll feel down and maybe not depressed but a little down, but then something will happen or nothing will happen. And I'll just come back to this space, to this knowing, this understanding. So this is kind of what I mean by it being such a natural process has happened. Okay, I'll stop this video now, 'cause it's getting quite long.